Hey, what's up? Just gonna be hanging out tonight, guys. Next week I'll be doing a DJ stream. Really gonna try to start making this a regular thing. So, thanks for coming. If you guys have any questions regarding mixing and mastering, anything like that, just shoot them in the chat, and I'll see if I can answer them. How's everybody doing tonight? Ooh, Chinese food, nice. Hey, what's up, Celtech161? I'm doing good. I'm loaded up on sugar right now. I just went to a birthday party for my wife's grandma, and after cake and ice cream and a bunch of other stuff, I'm feeling wired right now. Yeah, I'm trying to wash down all this sugar. Glad scientist. Dude, I wish I had some Jack right now. I forgot to pick something up to drink before this. Yeah, I found the, what we're listening to is the Anjuna Beats Twitch Spotify playlist, because it's all cleared. Figured it's all mostly music I like, and then I don't have to worry about it. So. Celtech161 says, so I have a question that isn't really production, but more of a DJ question. What's the trick to fix older dance tracks that the tempo drifts around through the song? I mean, there's like, if you're using Tractor, you're kind of, there's a couple answers to this. There's, if you're using Tractor, there's not really much you can do inside of Tractor because they don't have flexible beat grids. If you're using Rekordbox or Serato, you can kind of go through and beat grid the track. It's definitely really tedious to do though. If you want to be able to fix the track just kind of permanently and then use it in any software, I'd honestly say put it into Ableton and warp it, like, you know, quarter note by quarter note or beat by beat onto the grid. It's definitely a time-consuming process, but it makes it worth it. I actually had to do that I got hired to remake a really old dance track by a client of mine last couple months ago, and the only copy of the track he had was like a CD rip that clearly this track, when it was recorded back in the 90s, like whatever DJ it was using vinyl, so it was kind of speeding up and slowing down all over the place throughout the whole track, just kind of randomly. And I spent a couple nights just quarter note by quarter note going in, adding warp markers and fitting it back onto the grid before I even started actually remaking the track, because I wanted to get everything locked in first. So it's not fun, Celtech. Yeah, the last part of your question. I wish there was an automated way to do that, to take something and lock it in. Even the automated, like if you just turn on warping in Ableton, it'll try to guess and do that. It never gets it right though. Like you have to go through bit by bit and do it. Hey, what's up, CTYA? CTY asks, what's my go-to clipper? These days, actually just changed kind of recently. I've been using the shit out of Big Clipper from Boz Digital Lab. It's got, I mean, it's a clipper and a limiter, but like that's been kind of my go-to final stage thing at the end of my master chains is Big Clipper into invisible limiter, because even though Big Clipper has a limiter in it, for some reason it doesn't catch all the peaks. So you have to put something like Pro L or invisible limiter after it to, like, I don't boost the gain in the limiter, invisible limiter at all. It's just there to kind of catch it, the last bit that sneaks through. That one's nice because it's got both, and you can run the clipper and the limiter either like in series, in parallel, like blend between them. Little clipper's nice because, and I think that one's free from him, or at least it was at one point. I don't think I paid for that one. That's like just the clipper portion from Big Clipper, and it's just a nice simple clipper that you can, you know, blend from soft to hard. I also tried out the demo just recently for the TR or the T-Racks from IK Multimedia. They're like old. It's only like a couple years old, but they're older clipper, and that actually seemed really good. I tried that because I watched a YouTube video of a guy doing a bunch of shootouts. Mixbus TV, if you guys have ever heard of that channel, is awesome. He watched both of his videos on, he did a complete mastering or a complete limiter shootout and then a complete clipper shootout where he basically grabbed like, you know, 10 or 15 different of each and ran them through all kinds of different genres and, like, you know, compared them all piece by piece. And it's quite amazing. Like the bit that's what turned me on to the Big Clipper was he put that on some of the stuff he was testing, and like he only had a demo of it. He didn't even own it, and he was like, okay, I'm gonna go buy this right after I get done with this video, because it was handling things almost better than some of the other stuff. So do you, question for you, C2A, do you clip things still like on individual tracks? I mean, obviously for like sound design and distortion, that's one thing, but do you clip your buses? Because I found myself less and less over the years clipping like anything pre like the final limiter. I find I pile it up too much, and then I end up with a bunch of distortion that I didn't want. Yeah, there's times I've used a, like every now and then I'll have to use a limiter on a individual channel or on a bus, but yeah. Oh, I just realized I don't have my, I always turn the loudness normalization off in my Spotify because I hate it, but I should probably have it on for this. Yeah, I'd never really thought to use limiters on single channels until that friggin' infamous Skrillex video, and I saw him like using and abusing Pro L2s on like single channels. Actually worked pretty well to push something up front and do it quite invisibly. Stony, I don't have, well, I guess I could change the other light color. Yeah, hold on 1 second. Usually that's for my DJ streams, but there, we'll change the keyboard color too. How about that? Oh, you want it to be green? All right, we can do green. More green. Reliquary Music, thanks for the follow. Also, Nightmarist RMZ, thank you for the follow. Oh, I guess those are those old. Those just came in, huh? Oh no, there we go. Digga Dun. Yes, I saw you in chat. Somebody's Twitch stream. I love that name, man. Friggin' Dave. Digga Dun. Hey, what's up, J-Sai? Well, tomorrow you're gonna be coming up here to the studio, Stony. Noah was thinking if he wanted to, or was wondering if he wanted to, might be able to come up too. I don't have a problem with that. If you're cool with that, I think he might just hang out while we're working on some stuff, and then maybe we can work on that three-way collab track that we were working on. Otherwise, though, this week has been Stony could use a ride. Yeah, all right. Well, then, I mean, I don't know whether he'll show up tonight on stream or not, but I'll let him know that yeah, he's down to come up tomorrow too, or he's welcome to come up. Yeah. Other than that, though, this week's been all business so far in terms of the music stuff, because I have a big release coming out on February 5th, which everybody will know about tomorrow morning. Actually, I'm going to be posting everything. Stony already knows what it is. And anybody watching Stony's stream already knows what it is from last week. But officially, we can announce it tomorrow on social media. So, looking forward to that. But yeah, it's been a ton of hunting down emails for sending it out for promo and building lists and all that stuff. It's like the not fun part of music production. Need to slow down the Nightbot posts. Doubling up like that. Stoney asked how the Friday production sessions with 11 have been. Great, man. That shit's been super valuable. Like, being able to get feedback from them, it's been super awesome. Yeah, they do a feedback session on their Discord server every Friday at 7 p.m. our time, so 6 p.m. Pacific, because that's where they're at. And it usually runs 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Sometimes it's a little shorter because one of them has to get going early, but I'm hoping and praying that doesn't go away when gigs start coming back, because they're gonna be needing to be heading places on Friday evenings. Because right now it's been super awesome. I've been able to get a track in front of them basically on a weekly basis for a couple months now, and like I've been able to get some like solid feedback from somebody, people that I respect and trust. So because a lot of times you send stuff out for feedback, and the things that come back are things that either you're like, well, that's like a totally subjective opinion, or something, who knows what they were listening to it on their phone or something like that. I actually I'm the one that introduced them to the Audio Movers plugin for doing high quality audio over the internet. They were just streaming stuff through the Discord like voice chat, and I was like, hey guys, there's a way better way to be doing this. And they were super stoked about it, because now they've been doing it for remote collabing between the two of them. That plugin has been amazing. Yeah. The same thing I recommended on Corey's post. You fire up a Zoom call or Discord or whatever for video and like voice chat, and then you put Audio Movers on like the Master Fader in Ableton, and there's your HD audio for the actual project you're working on, and it works great. Yeah, man. I'm so happy that I've been able to like find them and find that community. That's definitely one of my favorite Discord servers. That server's like always active, and like people are chill. Giant green cup, Lojo. That's right. Full of lovely tap water this evening, because my filtered water, we're out of it, and I gotta go get more tomorrow. Fresh from the Crystal Lakes of Colorado. Yeah, no, the tap water, it's more like fresh from Boulder County Water Supply, where the heck that is. It's not the worst tap water, but it's definitely not El Dorado Springs, which is what I usually drink. Recycled retreated meth water. Yep. I don't know. That's Denver water. I don't know. I don't think Boulder's that bad. Commerce City water for sure. Yeah. Boulder has DMT in their water. Maybe that's where Joe Rogan got the idea when he was living here in Boulder. Lojo. By the way, for next Thursday or next Tuesday's DJ stream, I've been torn between what I should play. I'm thinking, I don't know, either trance or I've downloaded a lot of like Tool Room house music and stuff recently. Just some like good quality, like feel good house. I don't know, I might play that. It's definitely going to be a stream, though, where I'll have no idea what I'm playing. I just went and picked up a whole bunch of it. Yodel trance. That's Ruben Duran's thing. Trancey trance, Stoney. What do you mean by that? Like 136 plus stuff? Like uplifting? I actually don't have too much of that. It's never been... That was like... I listened to some of that like when I first got into electronic music, but it's been years and years since I've followed anybody. Like Giuseppe's like the only guy that I've watched his Twitch streams or like listened to any kind of music like that recently. Yeah, I've been playing a lot. I've been really getting into melodic techno, man. It's been my shit for the last few weeks or a few months. Melodic techno is one of those genres where, like, I never knew what the name of it was, like, what that kind of music was when I hear it out at, like, shows or DJs play it. And when I finally found, like, oh, that's called melodic techno, I just, like dove headfirst into it and started looking at all these different artists. Yeah, it works really well on Twitch because it's like, it's not crazy like high energy. It's like good, just like listening, background music in a lot of ways. It translates really well across Twitch. I just wish back when I was playing a bunch of shows like a few years ago, I wish I had more of that melodic techno stuff, because it was sometimes it was really hard to find stuff that would fit a room that was just empty or filling up like that, like 8 to 10 slot. And like I feel like a lot of that melodic techno or that I guess like 03 progressive house, that kind of stuff would work perfectly for that. Yeah, the 2 to 3 hour opening beta sets, yeah. I'm looking at this Lojo. Oh, Latrell? Yeah, dude. Latrell's awesome. I actually went to, now that I think of it, I went to a Latrell show for my birthday. C2IA, you were there. That was here in Boulder at the, was it at the Fox? Yeah. For, was that 2 years ago? Something like that. That was an awesome show. The M Machine was great, man. That was a good couple years of Complextro and stuff when all that was coming out. Hey, what's up, Rossi? Damn, Sony, yeah, that would have been a crazy show. The M Machine with Matt Zoe. On my left, this is like a one-handed gaming keyboard, and I have it all completely custom mapped to launch apps using Carabiner on Mac. So like I can hit like Shift and then any one of those keys and it'll launch a specific app. And then I also use it just as like when I'm working in Ableton and like I need to stretch out, because like I find a lot of times sitting like this for hours and hours where you're like always twisted to one kind of side with, because like your hand's always on C and V for like copy pasting, and then I can just open up for a minute and just work kind of at the same, like my arms are the same distance apart, and it helps with my back because I go to the chiropractor every other week to get adjusted because of sitting at this freaking desk. Stony. Yeah, I also right above the one-handed keyboard, I have my iPad, and that's also running this thing called MetaServer, or it's on the computer. It's this app called MetaServer, and then on the iPad, it's an app called MetaGrid, and it's basically like a kind of a precursor, or I guess I don't know. It's like the Stream Deck, but it's for the iPad, but it's definitely much more like complex than Stream Deck is, which obviously I have the Stream Deck right here, but it's a whole, like it comes with it's actually geared towards like composers and producers. It comes with like a pre-done layout for Ableton, for Logic, for Digital Performer, with a whole bunch of like shortcuts and all kinds of crazy stuff that, you know, normally a lot of that's underneath hotkey commands, but there's also some other stuff that isn't. And like I have a bunch of buttons for like turning off like all of my, you know, like I have a bunch of, like I use True Iron on. Actually, let me switch over here in a second. I'm gonna open up my template and I'll show you guys like what I use the MetaGrid for. Like I'll have one button that like turns off a whole bunch of plugins all at once. It's really good for doing like A/Bing of certain things. Like I use True Iron on all my buses, or on my main 4 buses, and like it's nice to be able to just like turn all of those on or off with a single button press and hear what it's doing. I'm opening the template now. The Stream Deck, by the way, too, like I have that map to obviously control some stuff in OBS and like changing scenes. But the other main thing that I use the Stream Deck for, which I'm going to be working on trying to figure out a way to get it up on like Gumroad or something to sell it for, you know, it's going to be cheap, like a couple dollars or whatever. I have a mapping that basically I can load all of my different plugins and all of my different synths and all of my effects and all that stuff, all with just pressing buttons on the Stream Deck, so I don't have to ever type anything or go into my browser. Once I'm ready to start selling that, or like what I want to do is make like a default one for like Ableton, because like right now it wouldn't be any use to most people because it's all custom mapped for like all my racks and all my specific plugins. But yeah, dude, the Stream Deck's awesome. Honestly, if you can afford it, CTYA, I'd recommend getting the big one. After having this medium-sized one for a couple years, like it works, but you almost always have to have multiple pages. Like I have, you know, this main page that's on it right now for my Ableton stuff. All that's on here is just a bunch of folders, and then I have to dive into those. You know, like one folder's for EQs, one folder's for compressors, one's for reverbs, one's for, you know, my mastering stuff. And it would be much nicer to have like more on a single page. Like, yeah, right, Rossi. Maybe one of these days, like what I was gonna say is, once I'm ready to start actually putting that stuff out, like the templates for the Stream Deck, I'll do a whole stream on just like highlighting that, and I'll set up a camera right over the top of it so you guys can see it. I guess I could show you inside the Stream Deck software what it looks like a little bit here in a second once this template opens. Lojo, yeah. Never mind. I know. It took me a second to get that. Not those kind of racks. Those aren't here. Hey, what's up, creature? How you been, man? All right. So, hopefully this should all work here. All right, so here's my Ableton template. And this is like my mixing template. Like honestly, when I'm starting tracks and just like working on stuff, I don't use this because it does take a minute to load, and there's already a lot of plugins in here. They're all off. Like you can tell, like there's barely any CPU. Really, it's mainly just this NCAR. I turned that off and it should... There might be a couple other things. What's it doing? There we go. Okay. So basically the way that this whole template's laid out is the kick and bass groups, like everything's in buses, and it's all of these feed up into the red buses, which then feeds into the pre-master and then off to the main master. And on the main master, I usually never have anything. Usually it's just a couple little things to help me like solo the mids, or I might put like a Pro Q there or something if I don't have it. But as you guys can already see, like around Ableton on my desktop, I'm already using a bunch of different meters, so I usually don't even need to load anything into the Ableton sessions. All these meters around the edge are running like on my whole system output, so YouTube runs through them, Spotify runs through them, and it really helps for like analyzing other people's music and finding out like what they're doing, so I can compete. But so like for instance, with the back to the Metagrid stuff, so on my iPad, switch back here. On the iPad, there's just like a whole bunch of buttons that are all labeled for various different stuff. And it's things like, you know, consolidating, splitting clips, grouping stuff, ungrouping stuff, inserting audio tracks, inserting MIDI tracks. That's all kind of the basic default stuff that comes with Metagrid in that template. And then the few things that I've added, what it'll let you do is you can add a button and then have it send MIDI actually rather than key commands. It can do key commands, it can do MIDI, it can do it can do OSC stuff, which I haven't really ever gotten into. And so I have in my template, if I do Command K, there's already some stuff MIDI mapped in here, namely like the limiters that are on my buses, which again, like I said earlier, C2A, I don't really use those much anymore, but then the true irons. So if I come over to like these 4 buses right here, these are like the main 4 buses. In fact, I'm going to get rid of that for right now. That's just going to be in the way. So these 4 main buses here is where everything ends up. And on each of these, if I go over and hit my bus limiters button, it'll turn on all 4 loud maxes across all 4 of these channels. I can hit it again and it'll turn them all off. Or I can hit true iron and it'll turn on all the true irons across the 4 buses. Honestly, like, you don't have to have Metagrid to do this stuff. You can just keep command, like, you know, you guys, anybody that's been to the meetups in the past has heard me say this, where like all the punctuation keys on your keyboard aren't being used by Ableton, like period, comma, brackets, all that stuff. So you can just go into key map mode, and that's really what Metagrid's doing. It's hitting just a key map, right? It's just hitting a bracket key, or it's hitting a particular thing like it would be on my keyboard. So I could do this with my keyboard too. I just like to have it over on a separate device, kind of always in front of me. So I highly recommend doing this kind of thing. Like for instance, with your master chain, right? Like, set up your whole master chain. You might have like an EQ, compressor, saturation, limiting, you know, whatever, all these different plugins on your master chain. Key map the on off button to all of them to a single key, to like backslash or something. And then, of course, with the limiters, you're going to have to set up like a utility or something after them to bring the volume back down. That's what you want. Like, you want your whole master chain. Obviously not when you go to render it, but when you're trying to listen to it and see whether what you're doing is good, you should gain match the entire chain with like a utility at the end, to where when you turn everything on and off, it stays the exact same volume. Of course, you could put everything in a rack, but I don't know. Sometimes I just find it easier to do the key mapping as I'm going. I like the spacing of stuff. Like, I don't like how Ableton sometimes squishes everything, because when you have a lot of stuff going on, it's just this giant rack with a whole bunch of stuff in it, and it gets to be kind of overwhelming versus having the individual plugins. So this will let you then like A/B your entire master chain without any volume changing. And it'll also let you do it when you're not on that channel, right? Like, that's kind of the big thing between doing it in an audio effect rack or individually, is like, I could be working down here on a effects channel, and I'm like, oh, you know, let me see what that sounds like without my master chain, and boom, I can hit a button and it turns my whole master chain off. Or if I want to resample something, right? I don't want to run it through the master chain while I'm resampling it, so I can just turn it on, turn it off, and it works great. Oh, yeah, let me switch back. Right, so like I could be like working down here on this channel, and because I have my whole master chain key mapped, I could be turning the whole master chain on and off all the way on a different channel, versus like if it was in an audio effect rack, say like all these guys, right? You can't turn these on and off if you're on another channel without it being key mapped. So oh yeah, that was the first thing I did it on C2IA was with side chaining. I wanted to be able to like before and after all my side chain across the whole project. That was where I originally got the idea, actually. Creature, yeah, it'll be saved in my channel. I'm also gonna download it right after I finish. and probably upload it over on Facebook. I'm gonna try to do that with these production ones. The DJ ones, that's hard to do because obviously copyright stuff, it's gonna get muted. But all the music you're hearing right now is through the Anjuna Twitch playlist, which is all cleared, so none of this I have to worry about with music. Also, Creature, I haven't been down to the shop in a while because I've actually stopped that stuff. So that's why you haven't seen me. It's been since September now that I haven't smoked. Hi, Maze Kitty. The last thing I want to mention actually with Metagrid, because I just clicked into a different thing. What's nice about it too is it's set up, you can do this with a Stream Deck too, but it's set up to like automatically switch between programs. So like I have a whole page that's for when I'm like looking at Firefox and like browsing the internet, right? I have like buttons that will just pull up my email accounts. I have stuff for like when I come over to my little like metering stuff, I have a different set of plugins. So like I can automatically just solo the mids, or I can solo the sides, and this is like on my entire system. It's super helpful. Like it takes a while to set up, right? It's been kind of a slow project of months and months where I've just, whenever I found a need for something, I added into the I guess you could call it a template or a project. But now that it's built up like across all the different programs on my system, it helps so much with various different like workflow tasks. That's so funny. You do the alarm. Hey, what's up, Koal? Yes, Kitty, I do have effects racks that you could buy, but I don't think you'd have any use for them. But if you wanted to, you could head over to iamMTN.com. Hey, what's up, Michael? Oh, Fallen Angel, I didn't see you before. What's up, man? Change the light color. What color you want, Michael? Blue? All right. I figured it might be blue or red again. Come on. The green looks nicer. Yeah, the green, for some reason on my LED strips, the green is brighter than like all of the other colors. I don't know why. Maybe something's messed up with the wiring on them. They're just like the cheap Amazon LED strips. Wait, you want red? Red's what it's usually on when we're talking. Kitty, I do, but it's not on my desk right now. Well, thanks for coming and hanging out, Fallen Angel. Every now and then that happens, right? The brain just gets a little fried on life. So, just gotta chill out. Thanks, Qual. Creature, you want to see some sound design? Is that what you're asking? You'll have to give me an idea of what you want to see. Hey, what's up, Jansen? Creature, have you used Vital at all yet? I've been really big on that synth lately since it came out. It's like the free version of Serum. Hey, what's up? Dude, Vital, seriously, yeah, thank you guys for turning me on. Like, I saw the YouTube video and I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. But, like, once I came over to your guys' house and used it there, I was like, nope, this is now my new synth, for sure. I can never say your name. Is it Azendale? Asiandale? Sorry. Yeah, Koal, Vital's it's it's Serum, but it's like it's better in certain ways. Here, let me I was opening up a fresh session so we don't freak out my computer, because it definitely doesn't like my template while trying to run OBS and everything also at the same time. So let me go ahead and pause the music here. So if I again, I can come over, I'm gonna load this up from my Stream Deck. I just have Vital on like a quick select basically. The number one thing I like about Vital is the fact that it does the live auditioning of the automation. Like, that's what sold me, Jansen, when you showed me that. And also the fact that it just feels like Serum. Like, anything you would expect it to do, because Serum does it a certain way, like Vital probably does it the same way. So it was super easy to pick up, versus like most of the time, you know, synths take a little while to get used to the flow of them and all the features that they have. So Vital right off the get-go, right? It's like you have the 3 oscillators on the left. You have a sample oscillator, which is essentially like the noise oscillator. It does have dual filters, which is nice on the front. Like, that's one of those things that's better, in my opinion, than Serum, is you can have either serial or parallel filters, and like the oscillators it kind of pulls from some ideas from phase plant, and then other ideas from most of its ideas from Serum. I'm just catching up on chat here. Asian Dale. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Vital. I mean, the number one thing that's awesome about Vital is that it's free. Like, you really, they have like paid subscription versions of it, but really all you're getting is like more wavetables and stuff. And it's totally not necessary, because if you have a bunch of Serum tables, you can add them all into Vital as well. Like, you just put them into the right folder, just like you do with Serum. So I have like all of my Serum tables loaded into Vital, and it's all I could ever want. I don't need anything beyond that. There's maybe a few other things that come with the subscription versions, but I've honestly not missed a damn thing having the free version. So like, we can go to basic shapes. The one major difference between Serum and Vital is like a lot of the things that Vital likes to do is with sliders. So like the cutoff for the filter is this like horizontal slider. The resonance is this one. That's the only thing that takes a tiny bit of getting used to, just because I'm used to seeing knobs for those versus the sliders. But all right, Creature or somebody else, give me an idea for something that I can try to make here. Of course, you pick the one category that if I had to choose anything that was not my weakness, it's sound design, but I'll give it a shot here. A screechy siren. Okay. Let's see. So one of the cool things with Vital is, like I said, the live previewing of automation. So if I grab, say we make it an envelope that does this. Actually, we're going to leave that one full. Let's go to envelope 2. If I make an envelope that looks like this, and then I play a note and drag and drop this to various places, it tells you everywhere you can put it. And also, if I'm holding the note down, turn this down a little bit on my side. Right, I can just drop it onto things and it will do it in real time. So let me turn the filter on here. Let's remove that. Right, and before even dropping or letting go of the mouse, it actually starts doing things, which tells me what that might do. Super helpful for just kind of experimenting, because, you know, you can draw some crazy LFO shape and then just start hovering around different things inside of a patch, and it'll just, you know, you might find something that it does that's crazy that you wouldn't have thought to put it on there before, but because you happen to hover your mouse over it for a second, you know, you find it. So all right, let's you want like a fast siren or like a slow, like I'm thinking like an air raid siren, or do you want like a riser, like kind of zippy like laser siren? A long okay, all right, a long one. All right, might actually work better to use an LFO. Let's remove that. Envelope. Why is that not adjusting? That's weird. There we go. All right, let's add another one in. So With Vital, you have to make sure you're sending it to the right filter, right? It automatically will try to send the second oscillator to the second filter, but we'll just change that to filter 1. And then I'm thinking if we do like some detuning here, like probably quite a bit. Let's slow this down a little bit, or speed it up a little bit, so we don't have to hear that every time. All right, reverb. And then I'm thinking we take another LFO and assign it to the pitch. Let's go to that one. And, right, 8. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's put that on both of them. Actually, I like it on just the one. Maybe we go down an octave. No. Really, the timing is going to be big, like kicking this up to like 32 bars, but I'll slow that down in a second. Might help to actually also get some additional kind of weirdness going on with the pitch. So that on the smaller one. And we might try a different wave shape. Distortion probably. Let's turn that one down. So I definitely want that pitch to like hold out, right? Because that's what an air raid siren does, is like it revs up and then it holds at a specific pitch for a while. So I'm wondering if we do the envelope on this guy. Damn, Kitty, thank you for the gift subs. Creature says he has fat fingers. Yeah, that needs to hold out. Oh, we're only going to get 4 seconds out of that. All right, then we'll need to do that with probably another LFO. Getting somewhere, I think. All right. So I'm going to go outside of Vital here for a second, and let's add some extra stuff on top of it. That's getting there, though. That feels like a siren. Okay. Trying to think. I don't know, maybe we go ahead and turn off. I'm pretty sure, just like Serum is, Vital's just using the towel reverb, which it's not a bad reverb, but I have better ones. So let's do like shimmer, or actually black hole probably would be a good one. Tacos. Yeah, tacos sound good right now. All right. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to save this patch. Thanks for the idea, Creature. That actually would work really, really well for a breakdown or something, or going into a build to add some tension. So something I can talk about here for a second. When I go, like, say I've made something here, right, and I want to go ahead and save this. Of course, if it's like completely inside Vital, if that's all I'd use to make the patch, I could just go ahead and save it inside Vital like you normally would. But I want to include this black hole too. A lot of people will just go ahead and group that into a rack and then save the rack. But I like saving the entire channel. So I have a folder called Favorite Sounds and then Incidental Effects, which is what this would be because it's like a siren. Oh, look, I already have one called Sirens. I wonder what that sounds like. I'll pull it up here in a second. But I just take the whole damn channel and just drop it into a folder on my hard drive. And it'll save it as a .als file, which is super helpful because, say, like this was actually a channel in a track that had a bunch of automation going on in it or MIDI clips that I might want to reference later. Like sometimes patches, like this patch, I have to hit a specific, note for it to actually do what I want it to do. And a year from now, when I go to pull this patch up, I don't want things to suddenly be, weird because I'm not hitting the right note and I don't remember what note it was. Saving the whole channel will save the MIDI, it'll save the automation, it saves all the racks, it saves the, preset or whatever's going on inside the synth. It's just super helpful because, a lot of times if it's, say I'm making like a super saw or like a pluck sound or something more musical than like this siren sound, I might actually save like a MIDI clip with it that is like just an example of like how I used the patch when I made it. And, I'll delete that as soon as I load the patch in, but it just reminds me like, oh yeah, like this was meant to be used, like in C3 to C4 or, octave range, or, oh, this was a bass sound like meant to be used down low. So little tip there, like I definitely love doing things like this where then I can just grab the whole channel later. Let's call this Air Raid Siren. And so like when I want to load this later, right, all I have to do, delete that channel. Since it's an ALS, you don't want to double click on ALS files because it'll try to, that's a project file format. It'll try to open, that as an actual like project containing one channel. Instead, you can just drag the ALS file in up to the top in session view or just over, like if you're in arrangement view, you can just drag it in right here and you'll see the line. And then you'll notice it just dropped that in, included everything that I wanted it to. And like I said, if there'd been some MIDI here, that would be included. If there was automation, that would be there as well. So now I'm curious what this Sirens preset actually is that I saved. Oh, Michael, good question. So these other two channels that are already here in my project, these live in basically every single one of my templates. SC trigger, that's sidechain trigger. So this is just a MIDI track playing quarter notes because most of the time I work on 4/4, house and trance music. So this is just playing quarter notes and it's triggering actually two different triggers depending on what kind of sidechaining I might be using for that project. So if it's a regular compressor, say like the built-in Ableton compressor, I would be having it listen to this, which is just an extremely short, tiny little like click sound. If I turn the channel on, this is what it sounds like. Right? Like it's just a super... Wait, are you guys hearing that? Or did my audio crash for OBS? Looks like my mic's still working. Is Spotify still playing? You can hear the click when I play it? Okay. I don't know what's going on with OBS. It doesn't seem to be showing that it's seeing anything, but okay, cool. Yeah, so that's the click that my compressor is listening to. How I made that click, I literally just took a kick drum and grabbed the first like tiniest little bit of the transient. So say I come in here to my kicks, doesn't really, it could be literally any kick, it doesn't matter. I don't know, I'll just grab something here. Oops. So you'll zoom in, and you really literally just want, like, you want as small of a chunk as you can possibly grab. So like something like that, right? And almost any kick, once you bring it down to that short, is going to sound like basically the same kind of little click. And then once it's that short, I go ahead and just highlight an entire quarter note region, hit Command J to consolidate it. And that just makes it a little easier. I mean, if you wanted to, you literally could just duplicate this out across your project, and then mute that channel and sidechain your compressor to this just audio repeating like that. But the MIDI makes it easy, because then you can just, if you say you had a kick channel in your project, say you weren't doing 4/4 music, right, and you had like a broken beat going on, you could just grab the MIDI from your kick channel and throw it up onto that sidechain trigger, and you don't have to sit there and recreate the kick pattern, or you know, with the audio clips copying and pasting it all over the place. You know, you can just copy paste the MIDI in one big chunk, and it'll then your compressor follows your kick drum a lot easier. Does that answer your question, Michael? Making the click. So I just take that here. So once I have that click, right, like this file, you just drop it into a simpler. So if I wanted to, I can make this from scratch here. So I'll make a new MIDI track, and then add a simpler device to it, and then drag this audio clip onto there, and you'll see it looks basically just like mine does. And then add some MIDI notes, and there's your click. The other channel in here is this aux in. And so with my whole system, because I'm actually running SonarWorks on my studio monitors, which is like a room EQ, it flattens out my frequency response in the room to try and get a better sound, which really helps for mastering and for mixing. Because obviously if your room is creating a lot of extra bass, or it's canceling out, you know, like a really common problem for like this size room, like a 10-foot by 11-foot room, which is basically every bedroom. A really common problem for this kind of room is right around the 100 hertz area. A lot of times you're either going to get like a massive cancellation, or you're going to get a bunch of buildup at 100 hertz. And so SonarWorks does a bunch of measurements. You walk around with a microphone, and then it basically maps out what the EQ curve of your room looks like, and then applies an inverse, you know, or opposite EQ curve to the room. And then that way it tries to flatten out essentially what you're actually hearing in the room. And so because I have that running on my studio monitors, or on my whole system for my computer, I have a monitor controller down here, like to adjust just the volume of my monitors. And it has a direct like headphone jack in. So like if somebody brought their laptop over, or they want to play a song off their phone, I could have them just plug in to this monitor controller, which is the PreSonus monitor station. But that would be actually after the SonarWorks correction. So anything they played off their laptop or off their phone wouldn't be going through the SonarWorks EQ, and so it would actually not sound near as good as anything playing off my computer. So my solution to that is I have an 1/8" cable. It's down below here, kind of tucked out of the way right now. But I have an 1/8" cable that runs over into my Focusrite sound card, into like inputs, I think 7 and 8. And so then essentially what I'm doing is I'm piping in any laptop or phone that somebody else wants to bring over into my Ableton session, and then from there it goes then out through the normal kind of chain through SonarWorks and out through my speakers. It lets me be able to, you know, have friends come over, and if they want to play something or they want to work, like sometimes I've had collaboration sessions where, you know, somebody's sitting here on their laptop, like working on drums or you know, doing a build up and like finding effects sounds. And then I can be on the main computer still working on like the main session, and everything is coming out of the speakers at once, and it's all going through my SonarWorks and solving that whole problem. So these two are basically in every single project, because you always need a sidechain trigger for stuff. And then this just helps me with audio routing on my system. in here, the other thing you might notice with this sidechain trigger, I have that simpler that contains the click, but then also I have this external instrument device, and I have it labeled as MIDI trigger. So let me show you what that actually is for. Here would be like your kind of bog standard sidechain click, right? Where if I put MIDI on this, we'll just drag it down. Right, there's just a click happening just like it would be up on the normal trigger channel. But there's certain plugins out there, like Volume Shaper is one of them. LFO Tool is another one. Any of those, Gatekeeper, any of those volume shaping or sidechain plugins that they let you draw in like the shape that you want to sidechain as opposed to like a compressor. There's an issue inside of Ableton. I don't know whether you really could call it a bug or not, but depending on some of the other plugins in your session, if they're causing a whole bunch of latency, if you just drop like an LFO tool on a bus and kind of further up the audio chain, there's a whole bunch of like heavy CPU and latency plugins. Sometimes that will actually kick the timing of like Volume Shaper or LFO Tool like out of time. Like you might set it up to be a nice perfect kind of quarter note sidechain, but suddenly it'll feel like it's a 16th note out of place or too late. Or sometimes I've even seen like it's almost like a full 8th note or even more out of place. And the reason for that is because the internal LFO inside of like LFO Tool or Volume Shaper relies on the plug-in delay compensation inside of Ableton, and sometimes that just doesn't work perfect. Things actually kick it out of alignment. So the solution to that, and this is really only an Ableton thing, like pretty much a bunch of other DAWs have this all kind of figured out and working. I couldn't tell you why Ableton has this issue. Probably has something to do with effect racks and how it handles routing of audio and things like that. But the solution is, right, the way you should always be sidechaining your plugin, if you're using LFO Tool or Volume Shaper or any of those, the way you should always be sidechaining is actually using MIDI notes to trigger the LFO that's in LFO Tool or Volume Shaper. So to have that just kind of all in one convenient thing, I just hit Command G and group this simpler into an instrument rack. And then I can right click here, create a chain. And now this one single set of MIDI notes is coming into this rack and being split into two copies. One is triggering the click just like it normally would. So if I was ever using any regular compressors in the session, I can just always send them to sidechain to this. And then the other one here, we're going to put this instrument called the external instrument. Now, normally what this thing is used for is to send MIDI out of your computer into like a hardware synth. Like for instance, I have a Moog Minotaur right here, like a little bass synth. And this lets you send MIDI from Ableton out to the bass synth. And then that bass synth is plugged into my interface and like the audio would route back into it, right? It creates like an external audio loop in and out of your computer, MIDI out, audio in. But what you can also use this for, and I learned this from, I don't know, Mr. Bill back in the day, from some of his videos, is you can basically use it to send copies of MIDI to other channels inside your session. So I can do MIDI to, and then you'll notice if I were to say, let's drag that siren channel back in actually. Let's go air raid siren. I'm gonna add a note here really quick so it will just play for me. All right. So say this is just playing its thing, and I want to sidechain that with Volume Shaper, right? So we'll search Volume Shaper. Which actually in this case it's Shaper Box. Now if I just drop that on there, it's just going to work kind of like you would expect, right? So I could just pick like this kind of curve and set it to quarter notes and position sync to DAW, beat synced, right? That's the default way to do it. Now in this session, that's going to work perfectly fine. and it's going to sidechain it like you would expect. But like I said, sometimes later on in sessions, if you start having a lot of plugins, that timing can get pushed later and later. So instead, we're going to do, instead of position sync to DAW, we do MIDI triggered. And I like the MIDI one shot. So we do MIDI one shot. And now Volume Shaper's waiting to receive a MIDI note from somewhere else in the session to tell it to start triggering the LFO. So then we come to our channel over here and we do MIDI 2, Vital, and Shaper Box. And now that click MIDI is sending every quarter note, it's sending a pulse essentially of MIDI information over to Shaper Box and triggering it like we would expect. Now, this totally solves all the delay issues. Like your LFOs and your sidechaining will always be perfectly locked in when you do them MIDI triggered like this. So it's super important, and like it's just a habit of mine where now I never even put an LFO tool or a volume shaper into a session without setting up a MIDI trigger of some kind and having it trigger via MIDI. The other kind of cool thing about that is normally, you know, if you set this to quarter notes, it's just always running on quarter notes. Whereas now, you could totally pull the kind of flume trick, right? Where maybe you skip notes every now and then, or you add in like extra notes. You know, you could have it do like random like eighth notes, right? And then that's going to sit there and follow along with it, which is something you wouldn't be able to do, say you, you know, you were using it just kind of in its normal mode. You'd have to like automate the rate change, and that becomes a whole thing. So like now this will follow that. Does that answer your questions, Michael? Oh, back in my template, if that's what you're talking about. Here, let me switch over so I can look at the Discord here really quick. Yeah, so you're talking about my template. Those 4 red channels, the KB all here. Let me reopen that template. It's going to take a second, but then we can talk about that specifically. Those 4 main, like the way that my template is set up is that it goes from here, let me turn something on with, of course it's playing things with vocals. I want something just background music. Okay. So in my template, I have all the kind of major categories of stuff. Like I have like a group for like all my different kick layers if I have any. I have like a snare or clap group. I have like a hi-hat group, a percussion group, synth group, you know, organic group, kind of like keys, pianos, strings, Rhodes, things like that. That all goes in one. There's like an Atmos group, which is like all my pad sounds. There's my effects group. All of those groups, you know, that's usually what most people have. And then they just send that off to like the master fader. But I like actually doing a little bit more processing on, I like to get things down to like only 4 main groups. That was a philosophy I learned from, I don't know, some podcast back in the day, where thinking about your session and like your song as, you know, even though we don't do this in electronic music, but think of it as like members of a band. You want to get like a set of major groups that everything filters down into, and those groups are, like your drummer, your bassist, your kind of lead guitarist or your lead sounds, and then like your background keyboardist, or your, in this case it would be like my effects or something like that. Let me switch back over here now that that's open. Right, so all these channels down here, these are all those kind of normal groups, right? Like there's a kick one, there's synths, there's Atmos, and like in here would be where I'd have all my individual channels. All of these black channels down here at the bottom, so synths 1 through the effects bus, all of these are routed up to this music bus. So every single one of those black groups ends up here at the red, this one single red channel. My vocals go to their own group, kind of following that Skrillex philosophy, right? They're just kind of by themselves and heading to the master. How did I route it? So you first have to, like, these channels are set up in a specific way, right? So say I wanted to route this effects bus to another audio channel. You can create an audio channel, and there's a couple things you have to do to this channel before I can route the effects bus down into it. The first thing is you set the monitor to in, right? If we're over in session view here, it's this little button over here. You want to make sure that's set to in, and then you're going to change to where it says no input. That sounds counterintuitive, but you'll see what I mean here in a second. So monitor to in, and then no input. What this has done now is it's set up to where this channel is essentially just like an open funnel waiting for any audio elsewhere in the session to be sent to it. And then all I have to do on the effects bus is choose the output, right, which normally would be set to master, right? By default, the output of a channel, like look down here, right, this one's set to master. When you create an audio track, it's automatically going to try to route itself to the master. So rather than it going to the master, we send it to this new channel, right? So 60 audio. And you'll notice if you've done it right, as soon as you send it down to whatever channel you're trying to act as a bus, the mute button will actually change color. In the default Ableton set, it'll go from yellow, it'll change into like a light blue, which means that something else has been routed into that channel. In my template and my theme, it goes from the yellow to the purple. And so now everything that's inside this effects bus will end up down here, and then it will go out the output, which in this case is the master, and will go to the master. And you can daisy chain as many of these as you want. This is a thing done from before Live 10. The whole thing is that before Live 10, you couldn't ever do groups within groups. So this is how you had to, if you wanted to group two different groups together, you had to do it this way with an audio track like that. Honestly, nowadays, the easier way to do all this would be like, I would literally just, we'll move the Vox bus down here. I would just take all of these groups, right, that normally would be going up to this music bus. I would just take all these and group them again into another group and call that music, right? Now we can actually just fold things inside of multiple, sets of groups. It's just more of a, I'm so used to doing it the other way because I've done it for so many years that it's more confusing to me actually to use groups within groups. I like having everything kind of one deep, and then everything's just ending up at the top of the session, if that makes sense. This little channel, actually, since we have this template open again, little fun side note. I've been experimenting. This doesn't happen every single time. I just try it out. There's this awesome little Max for Live plugin or device called Insist, like Insist, and there's also Outist. And they basically lets you route audio like inside of channels, like between channels. And I've been trying to do a full like parallel drum bus. Just the concept here, let's not worry about the Max for Live stuff, but the concept here of actually having all your drums sent to like a channel, you know, like in this case, like say you were not using Ableton, say you were using Logic, it would be like an aux or like Pro Tools. Having all your drums sent over to this other channel that's running parallel alongside the rest of them, and then doing like a whole bunch of compression or a whole bunch of saturation or like distortion, and then mixing that in just slightly underneath the rest of your drum sounds, I've found actually makes your drums sound super fat and like really punchy. So, you know, you could do like what we were just talking about, right? You could actually have like all your drums route to another channel. I've just been exploring with this little Max for Live tool. But try that. Like, you know, what you might do is like on this drum bus, you could just use an audio effect rack and set it up in parallel, right? So all my drums end up at this drum all bus channel. I could just take, say, like, I have this compressor here, right, which is the Shadow Hills. And normally, if I just turn this on, this would just start compressing all of my drums. To do the parallel trick, right, what we can do is group that into a rack with Command-G. And then same thing like we were doing with that sidechain one. I can open up the chains, create a chain. And now, here's the original dry uncompressed signal, and then here is going through the compressor, and then typically I'll then just like smash it through the compressor and get a bunch of like cool distortion and tone out of it, and then you can use this little fader right here to mix that like really compressed or distorted sound back in with the original compressed sound, and that helps actually really like thicken things up. So yeah, Michael, so all of this like really kind of dark black is the music. All of the light gray is all drums. And then the white channels, kick and bass, go up to the KB all bus. So kind of an overall concept here is kick and bass get grouped together. All the rest of the drums get grouped together. And then all the music gets grouped together. Those are the three main groups. The fourth one is vocals. They just sit off on their own. They never merge with anything else. Yeah, we can talk about this more in a voice call after the fact, man. I wonder if let me I used to have, let me just hide my screen here for a second. I used to have a like diagram of how everything's routing, and it typically makes a lot more sense to look at it like that. Let's see if I can find it. Stony. Yeah, here we go. I think I found it. Hopefully it's not old routing. Yeah, this will work. So the one thing that's changed, jump back here. So the one thing that's changed between this diagram and now is I've stopped putting my snare and clap in with my kick and bass. I don't know, that one's kind of a project by project basis. Some projects it sounds good to have the snare grouped in with the kick and bass. Other projects it sounds better to have it with the rest of the drums. So like this guy might move down to this group, but otherwise everything else stays the same. So, right, this is one of the red groups. This is the other red groups. Like this is the KB all bus, drum all bus. and then the vocals, right? So this is kind of how everything starts and gets filtered all the way down. And the end goal here is that I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 main groups that everything comes and makes its way to. And then I then send it to the pre-master now, but whatever, it doesn't matter. It could be the master or the pre-master. I just like keeping my metering on the master and then having a separate channel. So does that help at all looking at that? I mean, you can screenshot this too, Michael, and we can talk about it later, but sometimes visually it's a little easier to understand. The whole reason for doing this, honestly, is just to be able to process these sounds all as like one thing. Like I like, adding a little bit of saturation or compression to all of the music as one thing. Or sometimes like in certain moments of the track, like maybe I want to like have all the music completely filtered down with like a low pass for like a split second, or mute for, maybe like a certain quarter note. I want like everything to cut except for like the drums. That's a big common thing. Like the track that's playing right now, like is even doing some stuff like that. This makes it super easy to do that automation, because rather than having to add a utility to like every single one of these and automate it to mute for like a specific quarter note or something like that, I can just put one utility on this entire music bus and automate that down, and it's muting all of those channels, which that could be, 15, 20, 30 different channels. And I just have to do one line of automation for that. So automation, saturation, compression, those are really the main reasons. I know CTYA also mentioned like he sometimes will do like limiting on each of these 4 buses. That's kind of following in, like, I know Skrillex did that in that video, where you kind of break up your limiting and it lets you push things a little bit harder, because, a limiter trying to work on the entire track as opposed to one only working on the kick and bass, you can push that one a little bit harder before it starts breaking up, as opposed to like the one that's across the entire master. Now, you'll probably still put one on the master at the very end, but that one just doesn't have to get worked near as hard, because you're handling some of the peaks beforehand on these 4 different buses. Yeah. All my sidechain, by the way, happens here, so you guys know. Well, mainly it's on these guys. And then like my bass, and then sometimes I'll sidechain like my hi-hats and my percussion, but really it's like all my sidechain is primarily on these, and it happens at this stage. It happens before I get to the music bus, because I've found that then lets you, if you do some compression and saturation after that, it kind of really glues everything together. And I trying to do the sidechain here, a lot of times it's like, oh, well, I don't want my piano sidechain the same way as like my main lead sound. And so like one sidechain compressor or volume shaper on the whole music bus, that is one thing I don't want on that music bus, because I want a little more control over how it's ducking on each individual group. Like effects, maybe that doesn't even get sidechaining, right? Maybe I don't want like my white noise and my crash cymbals and stuff ducking, but I want the rest of these all ducking. So I'll do the sidechain on these 4 and not on this one. And vice versa, kind of depends on the track, but it's just like the best way to get control over various stages of your project. Does anybody else have any other questions before we wrap up here? Yeah, thanks for coming, Creature. And thanks to everybody else for tuning in as well. So next week, like I said, this is going to start to be a weekly thing, same time every week, and I'm going to alternate maybe it's not like I'm not going to perfectly alternate. Maybe sometimes 2 weeks in a row, whatever. I might do DJing, but I'm going to try to switch back and forth between doing like stuff like this where I'm just hanging out, answering questions you guys might have, maybe showing some stuff in Ableton. And then the next week I'll be doing a DJ stream and kind of back and forth, vice versa. I figured I've been doing some DJ streams, but I've been wanting to get back into doing some studio stuff as well, and bringing you guys along for the ride. So by the way, tomorrow morning, Michael and I are actually going to be doing a fairly big announcement on social media. Like I said, Stoney already knows what it is, but I do have a track coming out with Michael, a collaboration we did. So look for that on Facebook and Instagram and stuff. Before I go here, I want to see CTYA and Jansen, who were in the chat. They might actually be doing some additional producer stuff here. They actually have a podcast as well, and a stream. So if they're still online, we're going to go right over to them. Let's see here. Come on, Twitch. Oh, let me close Ableton. That'll help. Thanks for coming, Creature. Don't know if they're still on. Let's take a look here. No, it doesn't look like it. So instead, we're actually... Oh, wait, yes, they are. I just didn't go to the right link. There we go. All right, so I'm going to send you guys on over to a channel called Always 400. It's Jansen Riv and CTYA and Asiandale. I'll get that name right eventually. And they're going to keep on talking about some music production. So thank you guys for coming. And yeah, make sure you guys spam some raid emotes when we get over there. I will see you guys next Tuesday.